White Sox fans, welcome into the Sox On Tap postgame show. It's Johnny Nani here alongside Tony On Tap and NWI Steve. Boys, how we doing? It's fine Thursday, start of the weekend.
Hey, yo, boys, doing well. Nice to at least see the Sox salvage one over there in that garbage-infested city on the East Coast with the very greasy pizza. So close that thing out on a high note, at least.
I'm back. I think it's the first show that I've done since before the All-Star break. It's just nice to be here after a win, boys.
Yeah, one for the road. I echo Steve's sentiment. It was good to see them play a crisp, clean ball game, as you usually like to dub them. Steve, that's what they looked like today, and it was good to see the starting pitcher there, Michael Kopech, bounce back from his very abbreviated outing back in Atlanta. And again, they had some timely hitting today, so that was good. But overall, Steve, the team that we talked about on Sunday was not the White Sox. That was a team disguised as the White Sox. This is the White Sox we know and hate, though, losing 2 of 3 here, back to their normal bullshit.
Yeah, you're right. And, they did it in a combination of different ways. That game, obviously, on Tuesday, Lucas goes out there and just kind of shits down his leg in that first inning, gives up a 5 spot right out of the chute. And then, you give them a little bit of credit because they fought back to put themselves in a position to actually tie and potentially win that game in the 9th. Weren't able to come through, unfortunately. And then yesterday, they just, right from the jump, they just got it shoved up their ass. Justin Verlander did that thing that he usually does to them. So, kind of a couple of different ways that the White Sox like to lose games here in the year of our Lord 2023. And then they go out and they look like a totally different team today. They take the action to the Mets right there in that first inning, and then they never look back. And, Michael Kopech was able to go out there and throw enough strikes to get the job done.
I call the series opener the fake, but maybe not, but probably still fake rally. That's what it was. That's what it felt like. That was a caption I had to put out. Feel like we've seen that movie before.
We totally have seen that movie before, Johnny. We've been seeing it for 4 or 5 years now. I liked the series opener ball game just for one reason. They scored a lot of runs, and so therefore it was somewhat fun. But I think overall, guys, this is another winnable series. You should have had that first game. Verlander's going to do what Verlander's going to do. And then, they come out today. It was a totally different Michael Kopech than what we saw in his last outing. And it's been Jekyll and Hyde all year, man. All year.
It really has. I wanted to open it up for you guys. Thoughts on Michael Kopech. Our guy Besnick wrote up a nice post about his bounce back today. Go check that out on tapsportsnet.com. But let's hear your take, Steve. What did you see from 34 today?
The biggest thing is kind of the continuation of being erratic both inside and outside the strike zone. What wasn't giving up the hard contact today, but again, having the 4 walks, that's really been the biggest problem with Michael Kopech all season is not controlling the strike zone. I talked about that. I wrote about it before the season. That was going to be one of the pivotal keys for this team. And for Michael Kopech in particular, this has really been the case the entirety of his time since joining the White Sox organization. There have been periods of time where he looks like he has that under control, and you see flashes of the dominance from him. But then you have that outing, last weekend in Atlanta, and then, even today, like I said, he was able to limit the damage, but still 4 walks is just simply too many. More oftentimes than not, that is coming back to bite him in the ass. So that is just something that is going to be a continual struggle for him and something that he's going to have to iron out if he's going to take that next step.
Steve, I'll follow up with another question. Where do you think he's at in his development track? We're talking about a guy that, he missed that year, taking that year off. He's gone through Tommy John surgery. I mean, there's a lot of lost development here with Michael Kopech. And I think that's sort of
for a little bit.
Yeah. This is sort of rearing its ugly head here. He really hasn't made it through a big league full season without having to have those IL stints. I saw some takes out there the other day that said, maybe he is a bullpen arm. I don't know at this point because you see these flashes. And I look back at Dylan Cease when we would talk about can he get through the second inning without giving up a long ball after he walked 2 guys? And then all of a sudden he puts it together last season. I'm waiting for Kopech to turn that corner. I don't see it coming this year. And how much more time do you give him to become a front end of the rotation starter?
I think that ship has sailed. The idea that Michael Kopech is going to be a front of the rotation starter for this team, an ace that we were sold on when he was acquired from the Ginger Sox. That's not
better question, Steve. Where's he going next to be a front of the line starter?
I just don't see it. I don't see it. Maybe in a couple of years he goes down to Tampa and they iron out whatever mechanical kinks that he has. I mean, that wouldn't, entirely shock me because, that's just what the Rays do. But the idea of him being a top of the rotation starter for the Chicago White Sox, that ship has sailed.
I concur, but he's still going to have opportunities. He's going to have to, because guess what? They are not going to have much on the books next year in terms of starting pitching. So Tony will at least get next year to see if it can actually come together all for one season. Like I think the most frustrating part is that we've seen the stretches. There were stretches both early last season, early this season too, where dominance. That's really what it was. So that's what gives you that high hope. But think about how we evaluate position players. It's like shit. We saw 2019 Moncada. We saw stretches of Eloy was bashing balls early on in his time here, and then you have the injuries, you have the underperformance, you have number of other factors externally that come into play with these guys, and it just never all comes together. So I am in the same boat as Steve. I don't think he'll be a front end of the rotation starter. However, he'll probably be slotted somewhere right in smack dab in the middle of it next year. That's my take on it.
Yeah, and I think that makes the most sense here. This team is going to need to cover innings next year. So the idea, Michael Kopech is going to be in the rotation. The talk about him going to the bullpen, being a closer, like that's just not going to happen. They have to cover 162 starts next year. And you look at it right now, as far as the 2024 team, the only guys that you can conceivably think are going to be in this rotation, Michael Kopech, Dylan Cease, because I just, from everything I'm hearing, it just doesn't sound like he's getting dealt here before the deadline. And then, there's an option on Mike Clevenger. So,
and Ross Detweiler and Odrisamer Despaigne and Ivan Nova. That's how you round that out with some depth.
Yeah, Tony, Steve, and I were talking about we need the whole damn reunion of, what was it? Tyler Danish got released, and then you can always dig up Carson Fulmer and Zach Birdie. I know some of these guys are bullpen guys, but that's it's unfortunate that we're sitting here. And what should be the middle of a competitive window, and we're making jokes about how we're going to.
Dallas Keuchel has till tomorrow, Johnny, to get called up, I believe, by the Minnesota Twins. So he might be a free agent.
Ooh, yeah, there you go.
Think he wants a reunion?
Do we need to rehash my position on Diamond Dallas Keuchel?
No, I think that was met loud and clear. Your position on Dallas Keuchel, and I think it sort of echoes through most White Sox fans. But
I think that clips in the Sox on Tap Hall of Fame. But.
It is in the Sox on Tap Hall of Fame. But looking back at it, Steve, was he wrong? I think that's a good question to ask at this juncture.
Whether he was wrong or not, fuck Dallas Keuchel. Fuck him.
There's probably strings of truth to it, but also I would imagine exaggerated for his personal agenda. That's the way I look at it. That's how I thought of it from the start. So
this all goes back. I mean, this is not just a Dallas Keuchel thing, talking about just how fucked up this organization is. You go back to the Drake LaRoche saga. You think about that. Who was the one guy that everybody's talking about kind of put his foot down on the Drake LaRoche bullshit? The one name everybody always pointed to was Jimmy Rollins.
Jimmy Rollins, yep.
Jimmy Rollins, a guy that's a former MVP, was kind of the centerpiece of that dominant Phillies group that won 2 pennants, 5 consecutive division titles. He came in here, and you could just see it sometimes. He was like, what the fuck is this bullshit? This is a clown show. So this isn't something new that, Dallas Keuchel walked into and was like, oh my God, what is going on in this organization? This has been a well-known fact for a long time now.
Yeah, good point. Seeing the dysfunction play out on the field. Steve, you mentioned a little blurb in there when we were talking about starting pitching, and you said you can't fathom Dylan Cease going anywhere. I think we need to talk about it because this shit just dropped over the last couple of days, and I think everyone kind of ran with it because there were a couple of Houston or Arizona personalities kind of dangling some stuff out there that didn't really have any basis. It was just more hypothetical, right? And then John Heyman threw some fuel on the fire when he had said that Dylan Cease would be the Astros' dream acquisition. And obviously, I think we know that they don't really have the capital to make that happen right now. And then, of course, I'm going to up the ante and say that they wanted to eye Luis Robert as well in that same vein. Not going to happen, but I wanted your guys' takes on it because this is where we're at in the news of there's been one trade completed here this week, and everybody else is just kind of grasping at straws here, trying to generate some headlines.
My take is this. Look, I can come up with really asinine trade proposals myself and try to circulate them out there into the Twitter sphere for clicks and likes and retweets and all that nonsense. This clown out of Houston that is starting this whole, according to sources privy to the discussions, the Astros are targeting Dylan Cease and Luis Robert. They don't have the capital to get one of them, let alone both of them. If there's maybe two teams that could realistically pull that off. The Baltimore Orioles, who now have the best record in the American League, by the way, and they're still loaded from a system standpoint, and the Dodgers. So if you wanted to pull off a mega deal for those two guys, those are your two organizations that you're looking at. The Houston Astros, they ain't got shit from a farm system standpoint. And then he wants to throw this caveat in, several players from the major league roster would be involved. Granted, the White Sox are a really dumb organization. We've said that time and time again. But even I don't think they're dumb enough to trade those two guys, their two real assets, for guys with less than 6 years of contractual control at the major league level. Now, I could be overestimating Lawyer Boy. I could very well be doing that. It's entirely possible. But even I don't think he's that dumb.
That's some high praise. I don't think I've ever heard you say anything positive on this show. So that's good to hear.
I mean, I'm just looking at this and thinking to myself, they did this with Chris Sale and they did the full blow it up rebuild. You've seen people screaming that this thing completely needs to blow up. I don't trust them to even get back the assets that would help even Steve feel good about going to a Sox game next year if they were to trade either of those names. That said, what worries me just a little bit in the back of my mind is what's the control mechanism for Rick Hahn to say no to something should he think he's on paper, this looks like a good deal. Is Kenny Williams going to say no? Is Jerry Reinsdorf going to say no? Who is the oversight committee on what Rick Hahn is going to do with Rebuild 3.0 now?
That's the problem with this organization, is that there is no accountability. Ken Williams, yes, there is an accountability problem within the White Sox because you don't know who ultimately is in charge. And because nobody is directly in charge, everybody can deny at all times. Hahn can, go through the media. He can go to Jeff Passan and say, well, I didn't really want to do this, but, the people above me wanted to do it. Jerry and Kenny can go to Boob and put stuff out there and say, well, we really wanted to do this, but, there wasn't consensus in the room. So nobody knows who's really in charge because nobody really is in charge.
I
So
just
that's
had
when
a
they just stand pat.
Yeah, I just had a light bulb moment when Steve said deny, 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 because you hear that term a lot. But what I was thinking, plausible deniability, right? So it makes sense why they have the gangster outfit as the home run jacket, because they operate more like an organized crime organization than a baseball club.
Except I feel like they're a lot less efficient than an organized crime syndicate.
Right. I'm just kind of going for the cover your asses sort of standpoint, right? Yeah.
I get you.
Yeah. That's just what it made me think of. So trying to connect some dots here because we're all befuddled. We're all befuddled at what goes on actually at the offices in 35th and Shields.
Are we though? Are we befuddled?
In terms of you just asked the question and Steve just laid it out there. Yeah.
No, we know it's a shit show. I mean, they can't even.
We're befuddled at the who's actually in charge question.
Oh yeah, that question.
Right. That's yeah.
Is that how the pins got mixed up?
Right. Yeah. We want to go into that next. The season ticket holder pins.
Why not? We just breeze right past the whole Mets series, the disasters that took place in New York there, and let's get to the hard hitting topics like pins and why we can't afford postage.
Right. Yeah. So if you're unfamiliar with it, the White Sox send out season ticket holder pins, and it's supposed to be a year for how long you have been a season ticket holder. So, every year 1, year 2, 15 year, whatever it is.
Did you get one, Johnny?
I did. Yeah. I actually got an example here. I'm going to show you. So
I'd like you to wear it for the rest of the show.
I would be in 6 right now if the COVID season counts, dating back 2018 here, and we're in 2023. I should have gotten 6, and this is the little mix up. That's 16. All right. That's hilarious, but apparently so whatever, they had the mix up, and then they did send an email out, I will say, and they said there was whatever this error with these, and we are going to send out the correct ones in the coming weeks. Right, that was the update. I have not gotten it, so this is the only thing that I have right now from this season. But someone apparently did, right, or they missed their mail coming in. It needed to be paid for. That wasn't the case. Mine showed up in the mailbox. So that's what I got there. However, someone posted to Twitter. I don't know. I do not have the username up with me at this point. But basically, what was the postage cost there? Like $3.37, something like that.
Yeah, around $3.
Yeah, it was around there. It was like the $3 to $4 range there. And they need, when they get their postage, if they actually want to get it, they have to be present and pay that amount for it, which that's absolutely ridiculous, but also not shocking coming from the White Sox organization here.
Really leaning into the criticisms about this being a poverty organization. Just leaning right on into it there, full-fledged. The memes, they write themselves at this point.
Steve, would you pay the $3.50 to get your pin?
No, I would not. I don't know that I have sent anything requiring postage in about 15 years. Even on the occasions when I've had wedding invitations sent to me, I just give kind of a verbal over text. I refuse to actually take it to the post office because
not a big mail guy.
I'm not, postal employee Newman. He, from Seinfeld, he really soured me on the United States Postal Service. It's just, the Postmaster General. I mean, listen, he had to take time away from his golf outing with the Secretary of State because of Kramer causing all kinds of trouble, putting a bucket on his head, because of the tyranny and the oppression of the U.S. postal system. So I stand in solidarity with Cosmo Kramer fighting against the U.S. Postal Service.
All right, we learned something today. NWI Steve, not a big snail mail guy. I don't think anybody is in today's day and age, but he won't even touch it. I will say I've sent wedding invitations back via postage, but that's about it. I don't do much of it myself either. Can't say. Tony, you?
No, not a big mail guy at all. Although I might start sending snail mail to Steve's house just write him a letter, for the fun of it. But maybe it'd be better if Steve started writing the White Sox We could do a little series on the responses he gets from his letters.
Is that really a path we want to go down?
Letters to Jerry that Steve writes. If he doesn't want to deliver them to the mailbox, I'm sure one of us can arrange it for him. But that would be a fun little content segment.
It's funny. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I don't even never really get a legitimate response on there, but it's, like you see all of there's plenty of digital, right, attacks, whether that be via email, people getting upset with ticket reps, whether it be via social media, whatever it is, plenty of digital, kind of hate vitriol going towards the White Sox, but feel like the snail mail, I'm sure there probably is some that still goes in, but I wonder if that'd be a more direct line to really air your grievances about them.
Airing grievances for every loss via snail mail to the White Sox.
I'm sure
starting tomorrow.
I'm sure Jerome Reinsdorf doesn't understand the use of electronic mail. So, I mean, maybe snail mail is the way to get through to that crotchety old cheap bastard.
I'm just sitting here imagining the poor interns that would have to go to the mailbox, and they bring in like this bag of like 1,000, 2,000 letters for every loss, they just keep rolling into the office. It'd be interesting to see what would happen there.
Mr. Reinsdorf, that guy from Indiana sent you another one. Should I put it in the file?
That would pile up so much that you could make a case that the White Sox are definitely not an eco-friendly organization then at that point. Unless, make sure you're recycling that shit. If you're not putting it away, you got to recycle that shit properly.
This is where we're at in the 2023 season. I'm talking about writing snail mail to Jerry Reinsdorf.
Things are going great, really. We're doing awesome.
Yeah, things are going great. All right, Tony, me and Steve kind of aired it out a little bit in terms of Lance Lynn, Lucas Giolito stuff regarding the trade deadline coming up here. And I want to get your take on any of these guys or possible relievers that may be on the move. We kind of briefly touched on the Keenan Middleton situation, Reynaldo Lopez. You got Joe Kelly in there, Kendall Graveman, just a number of names.
Gregory Santos.
Yeah, Gregory Santos. So if you got thoughts there, floor is yours.
I mean, I don't know who should be left to pitch for this team after the trade deadline. It should be very interesting. But, I mean, I'm sure you guys are in the same camp. All of them can probably go at this point in time unless you absolutely don't get an offer for somebody that really moves the needle for you. But at this point, you're selling some of these guys for lotto tickets and just trying to recoup something. We can sit here and debate whether or not those lottery tickets have a good chance of ever panning out because of, the White Sox player development system. But I mean, why not capitalize on every single reliever that was named there? Obviously, Lance Lynn has sort of turned his season around enough to be in trade candidate category. So I think that's a positive development for this team if we can look at silver linings. Lucas Giolito is, from all intents and purposes, as good as gone. I'm surprised he hasn't been moved yet. I know his last start wasn't great, but I think he's probably going to bring you back at least a couple of pieces. I don't really know if they're going to go full bore and do something like Dylan Cease or anybody else on the player position side, but they've got plenty of pitching that people seem to be interested in. At this point, I'm just sort of in sit and wait mode, guys, to see who moves and when. Should be a busy day for us on the trade deadline day. Johnny, I know we did Four Feathers Tank Center. I don't know if we have to do something similar here to see what goes down for the Chicago White Sox. But on the other end of the spectrum, I could also see us sitting here post deadline being like, why the fuck did they not move anybody? Why did this not move? Well, maybe it's one or two names. I think we'd be rather upset at that point. I know I will be. It's just such a sad situation to think about right now. I'm really depressed with this team.
Yeah. It sucks when you're in sell mode because that means your season's not going in the direction that you wanted it to, obviously. So I think Steve and I kind of came to the consensus that Gregory Santos is one to keep around given the contract status. But other than that, I think we're kind of in the same camp there. It'd just be interesting. Like you said, I'm thinking like lotto tickets, even when you said that. Like, what the hell do you actually get for a Joe Kelly? Because I'm sure there's an organization out there that definitely likes the stuff. And there is something to like about the stuff. I'll give him that. However, the inconsistency.
They're getting cost savings. That's all they're getting.
Oh, you get him in, and he went on a nice stretch earlier this season, but that was short lived because then it was back to the IL, then it was back to some command issues, and it's like, okay, what if he really settles into like a 7th inning role for a team, and then he has one of his stupid groin injuries or something like that happens, and then that's the home stretch of the season, end of September, verging on can we even have this guy on the playoff roster? That's what I just wonder about. We obviously know all of that, but we wish I had a time machine to be able to tell the future, but I'm hoping someone will just bite on that. That's where I'm at with him.
You know what you guys are talking about, lotto tickets for some of these guys, I think in particular with the relievers. You know what the great Hawk Harrelson used to say about the lotto? You can't win if you don't play. So
right. What good are they doing if they just ride out the season here and then walk? That's at least for guys on expiring deals.
Look, somebody in California played the lotto yesterday and they woke up a billionaire today.
Yeah.
Before taxes, of course.
That's true.
Right, yeah.
That's very true. That's facts only, as you like to say.
I'm a big facts only guy.
That said, I just feel like we never get that lotto pick guy in a deal ever.
No, it just doesn't Thornton.
I want more than that. I want more than Thornton.
I mean,
like, because you're talking about Thornton. The Sox have a couple of relievers in their bullpen who have had a good, like you've talked about for so long now. Don't build around this bullpen. If you're going to have a guy who's going to be here for the next 3-4 years, works his way into the major league, we're just going to be tossing him out the window before the next competitive season the White Sox have again. There needs to be something to build around. I mean, if the lotto ticket winds up being not Fernando Tatis Jr., like what are we doing here?
I would take a solid, guy who develops into a bullpen piece. I would take that, certainly. However, there's still holes positionally when you look around the diamond. So
what are you doing at catcher?
I'm kind of in your same camp there, Tony, in terms of I guess I'm just worried because they're not going to do anything meaningful in the offseason, at least.
Jonathan and I talked about what they're doing at catcher this winter.
Oh, yeah. That's
Salvador Perez.
Mm-hmm.
I've thought that for a while, ever since Pedro Grifol talked about how nice it was to take Sal Perez out to dinner when KC was in town for the first time this season.
Big Grifol guy.
Because that's just what this organization needs, another sub 300 on base guy. Don't have enough of those.
Although if Grifol is not here, I know, Steve, that might hurt your feelings next season. Maybe we avoid
definitely
that
won't.
whole thing.
It definitely won't hurt my feelings. I can assure you and the listeners of that.
That brings up just a good point there, Tony. I think we can close the book on trade deadline for now since nothing has happened. There haven't been any major rumors over the last couple of days since we talked Sunday. So with that, it'll be a lot more to discuss at the end of the year on this topic. But just briefly, is Pedro one and done here? That's my question.
He should be. I mean, whether
that would take accountability from Rick Hahn to say he made a wrong.
Wait. No, but here's the thing. What if they make up some new position for Hahn and Hahn is no longer the general manager anymore? If that happens,
now we've got another
gets to pick his guy. Then that's what we're talking about, right?
Okay. Then at that point, maybe then they just say, "Hey, we really fucked up with this, Mr. Clean. See you later. Adios, c'est la vie. Go fuck yourself. Have a nice life."
Mr. Clean.
But I don't know. He should not be back, as they say. But we'll see.
While we're on the manager front here, hey, actually, no, legitimately, no joking. Good news to hear that Tony La Russa is doing better. But now moving into the joking portion of that, since he's doing better, run it back third time, Tony?
Sure, why not? Can it get worse? I know Steve would hate that.
But. Yes, it can get worse because believe me, his mental faculties are fucking decreasing by the minute. So
I'm in favor.
Well, I'm just saying,
in all seriousness, I'm in favor of a different manager. All completely get rid of both of them.
Yeah,
don't let them touch the organization.
I just had to make the joke because if we're ping ponging here, if it was Jerry's guy the first time, then Rick gets his guy. That didn't work out. Now it's back to Jerry. Balls.
No, KW gets his turn.
I'll tell you what'll happen. If Grifol is gone, I'll tell you who it's going to be. It's going to be the fucking Cleveland Indian. That's who it's going to be. He's already in the Robin Ventura special assistant role.
I don't know.
I feel that would be such a move for them. That would be just so right up their alley.
Would you rather have Jim Thome or Pedro Grifol?
Is death an option?
I guess.
I don't think Steve is allowed to like the White Sox manager, so I don't think that should be taken into account.
That's not true. That's not true.
Steve hated Ozzie, confirmed.
No. I had a big.
He hated Ventura. He hated Renteria. He hated. Now he hates Grifol.
I had a problem with Ozzie at the very end. I have been on record as saying that I thought what he did in 2008, given the way that bullpen had the injuries that it did late in the season and all the machinations it had to go through to get that thing to the finish line and to win that division title. And I still maintain it. No one will ever convince me otherwise of this, that if Carlos Quentin doesn't break his fucking hand on September 1st in Cleveland, that team wins the pennant and goes back to the World Series. No one will ever convince me otherwise. They would have beaten Tampa and they would have fucked up the Ginger Sox. I will go to my grave with that as my position.
I agree. I agree.
Ozzie Guillen broke Carlos Quentin's hand?
No, he didn't break Carlos Quentin. The Carlos Quentin was just being a jackass. But
I know. But I thought the topic here of discussion was
what I was saying. What
Ozzie didn't.
Ozzie did a very solid job that year getting that team to the finish line. Now then, where my problems started with Ozzie was at Sox Fest 2010 when Kenny literally sat on fucking stage and someone asked the question about bringing the Cleveland Indian back, to fill the DH position. And Kenny literally looked at him and said, that's the manager's call. And he chose Mark fucking Kotze. And that cost him a division title. That's where my problems started with Ozzie.
Gotcha. Good to know. All right. This is very early for this, but we're playing hypothetical here and you may not even have an answer, but if you do, let me know. Would you have any early candidates on your short list to fill the position if you were the one in charge? I'm not saying what they'll do, I'm not saying what they should, whatever. If you had your pick of the lot, do you have any names in mind? Obviously, we're going to revisit this as things progress, see how the rest of the season plays out, what happens in the offseason, who's available from other teams, shit like that. If you had your pick, though, anyone in mind?
Joe Espada, bench coach in Houston. That's the guy I wanted last winter. That's where it starts.
I just want Steve to hate the manager, so I'm going to go with Kenwell.
Kenwell for manager. There you
go. And I thought Tony La Russa was the dumbest option available.
Yeah, well, according to Sal in the comments, Steve loves everyone. He's a people person.
I am, if nothing else, a man of the people. Let's not forget. Okay?
He says after his rants about various people.
Who amongst us hasn't wanted to kick Diamond Dallas Keuchel in the nuts? Yeah. I mean, I'm not alone in that.
Right. No,
it doesn't make me a bad guy.
I just had to point out the ironic timing of that. So that's where I'm at. All right. Moving on in the show here. We covered all of that trade deadline stuff, season ticket holder pins. We got to that White Sox moment with Eloy, the status of being out. Is he available to pinch hit? We got all that.
That's another Grifol.
Yeah, you're like another wonderful Grifol masterclass. But since he was back today and in the lineup, of course, Andrew Vaughn is out in day-to-day now. I rewatched that replay. It didn't look pretty. I hope that X-ray comes back all right. That's he smoked that ball into his foot, and I don't think it was really noticed at the time. I had to go back and watch the replay, so hopefully he's all right. But other than that, guys, looking ahead to the weekend, it's fuck the Twins weekend. This team, maybe, we know what it is at this point. However, we need to own the Twins. Fuck the Twins, division rival. And as Sal pointed out in the comments on Sunday Fun Day, we need to remind Ted, about our presence and that we live rent free there. Steve, fuck Twins weekend, kick it off.
Everyone knows, it's been well documented.
Yeah.
I hate the Minnesota Twins with every fiber of my being. All the bad things in baseball, I want to happen to them. Theodore, I wish him nothing but misery when it comes to his sports viewing. And listen, knowing that the Minnesota Twins have the longest postseason losing streak in North American sports history, it gets my nads pumping. Just thinking about that. It makes me happy. It puts a smile on my face. So anytime, thank you, Sal. You get it. Yeah. At the end of the day, anything the Sox can do to make the Twins and their fans miserable, I'm here for it. I want it. I need it. Inject it into my fucking veins. Let's go.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thoughts there, Steve. And I love it. I'm just sitting here looking at the standings, which I shouldn't be doing. And if we do sweep them, we can turn the heat up just a little bit and be 6 games out. Let's go.
That's where we're at. It's a pride thing for me. Fuck Twins. Beat them. Earlier this week, it was Torrey Hunter's birthday. So I had to wish him a very unhappy birthday on that front because he robbed a bunch of White Sox home runs and ruined many nights of my younger years. So I hope the White Sox sweep the Twins here because, like you said, Tony, turn up that heat. Get 6 games back. But at the end of the day, it's a pride thing. I don't care if we're fucking basement dwellers, top of the league, somewhere in the middle. Beat the Twins. Beat all division rivals. I'm fully on board with that. Finally back to the AL Central. Yeah. Sweep the Twins and then bye. I love it. Because we'll be hashtag back then after that. We had an important comment in here, though. And Sal says, did I miss the portion of the podcast for Nani Shills for MLB? Yeah, news happened in between Sunday and now. So, yeah, Manfred's going to get extended. I know the vote isn't official yet. That's coming up. But, I said good things about MLB Big Inning. And you know what I will say, without being sarcastic here, I actually have really enjoyed the product of MLB overall this year, just not the White Sox. So, overall, I think Big Innings helped enhance that, and that institution extension worthy, in my opinion. So, Manfred Stan, right here. Let's go.
It's funny because here at On Tap Sports Net, we have a well-known history of starting movements to get people extended. Everyone knows I drove the train to hashtag extend Nagy. One of the best coaches in Chicago Bears history. They get rid of him. And look at where that sad sack organization is at. They are getting exactly what they deserve for turning on a family man like Matt Nagy. I led the Extend Nagy movement. Jonathan, you led the Extend Manfred movement. This is who we are as a company. And I think we should really just give ourselves a pat on the back for that.
I'll do that.
Wonderful work, you guys.
I'll have a little drink to that, too.
Wonderful work.
Crack them for Manfred.
I'm glad you got to enjoy some victory beers on that. And Johnny, I'm glad that you're enjoying your MLB product this year from your favorite commissioner. We'll talk on the Four Feather side about whether or not this love for commissioners extends to Gary Bettman. Really, really looking forward to that.
Can I interject on that topic real quick? Because personally, I think that love absolutely should extend because he did what needed to be done and he rigged that fucking lottery to make sure Connor Bedard is in Chicago.
Right. Yes. And I think it's important to distinguish that as long as the decisions benefit our teams, then it's all good and fine and wonderful. And if they go against us, though, that's where we have issues. So,
well, I've got one issue, though. The extra inning rule, Johnny, that's really fucked the White Sox a couple of times. Do you still... Where does that weigh in your Manfred standing?
That it has to be. I have to remove that, like I said, because I've enjoyed the product with the exception of the White Sox. So that comes with part of the exception. I'm still not a huge fan of the extra innings rule, but I've learned to live with it because they have not, at least, please don't go down this road, Manfred, in your next term. Never in the playoffs, please. That's where I would, lose it and turn on my boy Rob. But if you take it and put it with that exception, Tony, it's still been all right. But yeah, the White Sox have been rough in extra innings. For a while, it actually was kind of more hovering around just okay. It wasn't like, early on in the season. I remember I was at a game when they won extra innings, and I believe it was Oscar Colas. I had a walk-off hit in that one. So early on, I was like, okay, like, yeah, we got that, gifted ghost runner on second base. This might help us. So it was good then. But yeah, when you see the record start to fall, I won't put it just on extra innings, though, because in a lot of those games, Sox had chances to nail it down before then. So I'll put that more onus on the White Sox. Yeah, we're gonna have problems there too. Get a home run derby in extra innings.
Yeah,
at least we have Luis Robert until we trade him to Houston.
That's true.
Or until his calf gives out.
Ooh, yeah, Luis Robert hasn't been injured. So how long until that happens? Sorry, I don't want to be the one to jinx it. But
oh, Jonathan speaking into existence. Uh-oh.
I of course now it's going to happen now that I put it out on the podcast. But I have talked to multiple White Sox fans in person.
Multiple sauces?
Yeah, multiple sauces. And I have mentioned that. And we all kind of did the knock on wood, cross your fingers things. I hope it doesn't happen. But now that we've said it, watch it happen. And I said that in April. I said it in May. Said it in early June. And it didn't happen yet. So we're through the All-Star break now here on the other end of it. And it still hasn't happened yet. So I'm hoping this is one that maybe just the Under Armour mannequin is finally properly hydrated, fueled, all of that stuff. And good to roll for a full season. That's what I'm hoping for. Because
there's still plenty of
plenty of time to still get injured, right? Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. There's plenty of time for the White Sox to sell everything off and us to get on a podcast and say, at least we get to watch Luis Robert through the end of the year. And then that's when it hits you.
So the thing is, we've numbed ourselves to, the team has done enough numbing for us, but we're numbing ourselves. This is the Novocaine of the White Sox season right here. So if it does happen, sure, it'll still suck. But at the same time, I'm also shocked that it hasn't happened yet in terms of him, because he's, like I said, built like an Under Armour mannequin. In the past, that would result in, just quite literally running a little bit too fast for that frame in a given sprint down to first base or what have you.
Yeah, listen, if we can get that full season out of Luis, who knows? Maybe he will get some top 3 MVP votes, making my prediction from a year ago seem pretty ahead of the curve, And at this point, as I talked about on Sunday, I'm all about taking credit and no blame. So That's where we're at.
Yeah, that's how we roll. I'm on board with it. Seriously, that would be cool to see. Would be a bright spot in the season. I'm not a big silver linings guy, but he's also part of the reason why the product has been fun to watch. So I know I said the White Sox were an exception, but you talk about just, top tier players. He is finally solidifying himself within that top tier, because I believe on Sunday I said to Steve, take out Shohei Ohtani. I know it's hard to do from this game, but if you do remove that, Luis Robert's probably your AL MVP. You agree with that, Tony?
I would say so. Look what he's done on a really shitty team. I can't really think of many other names that are up there. If Aaron Judge didn't get hurt, I think he's probably in the conversation.
That's a good point.
But outside of that, those 3, it's really hard to remove Shohei Ohtani, as you said, just because he's Shohei Ohtani. But I would hope that, and I don't know the answer to this, Steve, maybe help me out here, but if Ohtani gets traded to the NL, how does that work for AL MVP voting?
Ooh.
I believe he can still get votes for it, but I feel like there have been instances of that happening where a guy got traded midseason and did receive MVP votes if he went from one league to the other in whatever prior league he was in. I feel like the most recent example, and I'm sure there might be one before that, but I feel like 2004, when Carlos Beltran went from the Royals to the Astros. I know he had that just insane postseason for Houston, but I feel like he might have had like one or two AL MVP votes from what he did with the Royals before the trade.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens there. And again, no guarantee that Ohtani moves, but maybe there's a glimmer of hope for our boy. We never know.
That would be something. I mean, I can tell you this. I can be on the ground doing some in-person reporting because I will be in the same city as Shohei Ohtani on August 1st.
Ooh. You're going out there trade tracking, Steve.
I'm boots on the ground, baby.
Yeah, but no,
Right.
Johnny, I would agree that if you remove Ohtani, I think this would have been Luis Robert Jr.'s year. You know, if he stays healthy, there's really no reason why he wouldn't have. I think he's going to finish top 3 for sure. Why he wouldn't have been able to secure number 1 at this point with what he's done. So,
Right.
I'm pro Ohtani to NL for next season, no matter what.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I did do just a little research here since you brought that up because I don't know the AL 2004 MVP voting off the top of my head, but Carlos Beltran looks like he received 4% of the vote in the NL, though. He did not qualify under AL. This is just the baseball reference.
Okay.
AL and NL divided up here. So that was the answer to that. But that's an interesting thought, though, Tony, on that front, too. Who knows? We'll see what the trade deadline brings once again. Kind of a lot of rumors, speculation, not a whole lot of substance yet. So stay tuned on tapsportsnet.com. We can be covered on what's going on with the White Sox at the trade deadline. And tune in here. Sox on Tap. Follow us on social media at Sox on Tap and at On Tap Sportsnet. Tony, Steve, final thoughts, and let's wrap her up.
Final thoughts. Beat the Twins. Win a series. Make them miserable. Make Theodore cry. Do that, and I'll be happy this weekend. Thank you.
Final thoughts. I think there's a chance that we're going to get back to a baseball game together next Friday. So I'm excited to be in Lot B again. It's been a very long time since I've been at the ballpark. In fact, it's probably my longest ballpark drought. I don't think I've been there since either early June, late May. So I'm excited to get back, see you boys out in Lot B, and have a couple 2-tree adult beverages, crack them a little bit.
I actually will not be in attendance that evening.
Ooh, Steve will not be there. I'm gonna have to get back to the ballpark with you before the season's over.
I mean, it's next weekend is Pierogi Fest weekend, so I got other priorities next weekend. So there's going to be lots of wandering the streets, pounding vodka and Gatorade, and enjoying copious amounts of pierogi, and just making poor life choices.
No, you enjoy doing that.
Oh, I will, believe me.
All right. Yeah, Tony, I second that. I'm looking forward to getting back out there with all of you guys. Our guy Sean Roberts, too. Heard he's coming in, too. So looking forward to that. Other than that, mine, I echo Steve's as well. Beat the Twins. And you also got Lynn Friday and Giolito Sunday. Obviously, things could change between now and then. At least for Giolito, looking like Lynn will make a start tomorrow. I don't foresee Lucas Giolito trade happening before Sunday, so a little redemption outing there, and maybe bump the trade value here, get a little bit better of a return on these guys here. So could be the last Lance outing, though. We'll say that. Everyone was kind of talking about, what was that, Tuesday being Giolito's last outing there. This very well, we're approaching the territory here. 11 days from now is the trade deadline. So if this is the last for Lance, hey, salute. I know the injury last year, and then this year it got off to a rough start, but man, in 2021, electric, third place Cy Young voting. I don't regret that trade. I would make it again, knowing that you're going to get the season that you did after. The Dane Dunning deal, talking about that swap there. I would do it again, and I just love the big bastard's personality. So he brings the fire, passion, grit, TWTW, and I'll always love them no matter what. So that's all I've got for this edition of Sox on Tap. Thank you to everyone who joined the comments. Make sure you're subscribed on Tap Sportsnet on YouTube. Join the conversation next time, and we will see you for Sunday Fun Day. Until next time, boys, fuck the Twins, White Sox forever.
White Sox forever.
White Sox for life.